when Renee requested the interview, I had to think about it. I wanted to talk about television because I love it, especially the senior center television. I firmly believe that we need to have more and more, as much outreach as possible for people that can't come to the senior center for our programs. That's why I was so interested in that too. It's because a lot of people couldn't come for programs, and we taped them, and then they could watch them. And so the outreach aspect of it was very important to me. I always felt that the programs were not attended, well enough attended, and I used to say this to Betty Mizell. I said, people don't come, why don't they come? And she said, we need some publicity. I said, well, how do we do it? And she said, well, we're going to be doing interviews, have interviews done. So when they needed somebody to do interviews, and this was for Channel 4, I was asked, and of course I had to say yes, because I'd been saying all the time, there are so many wonderful programs at the center and not enough people come. So I did, I think, interviews for about 6 years. Senior Center Television, SCTV, formed, I think, in 1991 with Rick at the helm. And that same year, we began training at PATV, because we wanted to learn all aspects of television, but I particularly wanted to continue doing interviewing and writing. I went from a person who did not want to do anything but be in front of the camera to ultimately having my own little studio, producing programs for PATV and SCTV. And of course, that also takes us up to my major project I've been working on nearly just about 3 years. And that is the building of the parking ramp and condos, Tower Place project. That's it. I started when, as I said, the last corner of the East Lawn building was going down. That's when I got the camera. I borrowed one from SCTV first, and then someone else lent me one so I could leave it set up by my window. And then ultimately I bought this one. And then I say after probably about a year, I then went down to ground level, even went all around the building, and different picture, different scene. I missed a lot because I was off traveling part of the time, but I got a pretty good coverage of the whole project. I was surprised was, not surprised, but I noticed was the teamwork of the men. How there'd be something descending from the crane, and you'd see about 3 or 4 fellows converging. Of course, they all work, they have to work together anyway, and I guess it was all spelled out, but I just saw it. I didn't hear any orders or anything. There were a lot of interesting sidelights or other facets that you don't think of in a building. I thought about making a sort of a disclaimer for the program, and so I made a voiceover. I never thought of making a documentary wherein the construction process would be described by me. I did not have the vocabulary, nor did I always know what was going on. So I decided to let the pictures and the sounds, which I loved, do the telling. And that's how it was. I didn't, all the good sounds, I'd take advantage of them. If I'd catch something good in, like a fire truck or something going down the street, or the sound of the crane made when they were moving something, all these sounds are important, and I'd try to include them all. Usually did. Somewhere along the way, early in the game, when I was watching and taping the men who were delivering the iron, or would it be steel? I don't know. They talk about the day the iron came anyway. When they were unloading that, these vast pieces, and I was down there taping and staying as far away as possible, but trying to get close up. So one man said, would you like to go over, it was beyond the yellow things, and I said yes. And he brought me a hard hat. And so I could go, with permission, I could go pretty much where I needed to then, and I did a lot. And the hard hat he brought me was not this one. It had more character, it had been used. And I rather liked it. And when they were leaving, I knew they were leaving possibly the next day, and I didn't know if I'd be around. I approached one of the men and I said, I must return this hat. And I'm not sure I'll be here tomorrow before you leave, or something, you know. And he said, oh, he said, all right. And he took it, and a minute later he was back with this new one, which it's a nice memento, I think. Senior Center television is worthwhile, and it's certainly a challenge, if you will. It keeps, I think it draws creativity from people, and I think that we need to live creatively, especially as we age. That's one of the things we have to exercise, our mental, our minds, our creativeness, and certainly SCTV would bring it out. We have now 3 cameras. We have 3 editing bays and our own studio, a proper studio at last. And there's always room for more people and more ideas, because when you have a lot of people, you get more ideas. And we've got a pretty good group now, but always look to enlarging it too. Well, one of the things that is challenging indeed is the way it keeps changing. The technology keeps changing. You get used to one thing, and it's changed. Even cameras, they try to put so much on, at least the little cameras, and I think that takes away from the overall. I wish they wouldn't put quite so many gimmicks on it that you don't really need. I think it's a changing technology. And of course we were doing analog for years and years, and then along comes digital. And the digital camera is great, the digital equipment. SCTV got one of these. That was their, I think our first, or maybe we got the G4 with it, but one of these iMacs with iMovie. And I said, I think I'll stick with analog. Can't handle the digital. And then they got that, and I watched them, and it's so easy that I bought my own. So that's how you get hooked on something. And so now I'm learning the computer because I've never been a computer person. Value of public access television. Oh, I think it's invaluable. It gives, it seems to me it gives especially younger people, an outlet for their creativity. That's not to say seniors can't, anyone, but I especially think of young people. And I think if a young person gets interested, becomes interested in it, and goes to PATV and takes training and goes out and makes some programs, I think they might discover something in themselves that they didn't even know was there. It can lead to anything, really. But I think also, and the freedom. There are no strictures other than a certain moral code. The freedom to do pretty much what you want, as long as it's within that code, is good.